Chase Johnson Lynch, and welcome back to the Community Podcast. Here we are once again in the cold box, and I'm wearing a T-shirt. I'm just letting you know, I'm like a polar bear, right? But it's all good because it's Christmas time, as you can tell from our backgrounds. Here we are on Big Condo Online, and we have a fresh guest in the studio. We first met today and everything like that, but I found them so fascinating that I pulled them onto the podcast. So I would like to welcome Daniel Taylor. How you doing, Daniel?
Hi, nice to see you, Chase. Great to be here.
Well, see, now Daniel is an actor and everything like that, and we're gonna go through his career and everything, and also he's gonna be hopefully working with us on a compendium that is airing this weekend. Well, not this weekend, next weekend. Not next weekend, you know what I'm talking about. The Christmas Compendium. But first of all, Daniel, let's find out a little bit about you, because what I thought was interesting, right, is that you just came off of doing a one-man show. And can you tell us a bit about that and where it took place and everything?
Okay, so I run a production company that's based in Liverpool, and it's been running for about 4 years.
What's the name of that?
It's Daniel Taylor Productions, funnily enough.
Oh, funny enough.
Yeah, strangely enough. So yeah, it's been running about sort of four and a half years, and originally when we started the company, a friend of mine, Ian Carroll, had put a play together, a three-hander. It was a local playwright called the Tommy Cooper Show.
Oh yeah, Tommy Cooper.
Yeah, the very famous 70s, 80s prop comedian from Wales, moved from Wales to Exeter to Langley in Southampton by the time he was a teenager, in that order. Yeah. And I said to Ian, I'd done a couple of plays with Ian, playing John Lennon. I seem to have played a lot of dead people, in my...
yeah, I see dead people. Okay, now I can say that.
I've got a bendy face, But I've been playing John Lennon for him in a play, and I said, I want to do Tommy Cooper, and he put something through the door, and it kind of developed from there. It was an autobiographical celebration of Tommy's life.
Wow.
And yeah, just to really remember this iconic man, who wore a fez.
Yeah.
With his famous lines, and I sort of took on the role. I studied him and studied in the same way that I had done with the Lennon and those characters, and I really sort of made him my own, if you like. And what happened was that show toured. We put it in about 40 theatres around the UK. And how did you do that? Well, I was very lucky at the time. I was doing a musical, Blood Brothers, famous Blood Brothers.
Yeah.
Willie Russell's masterpiece for Bill Kenwright, and that was touring theatres. And I started to pitch it to theatres when we were there with Blood Brothers, this idea of doing a three-handed autobiographical celebration.
Yeah.
And I managed to get it in because I was there at the time that week, whatever, and we checked their programming and we could do it, and we did it, and the show did incredibly well. And
that's even in these times, because you just did it this weekend, didn't you?
Well, what happened was that was about 4 years ago.
Oh, okay.
So just going back to the sort of birth of the production company was, right. Is that when this all started to happen with this COVID-19 virus, I was on tour with Blood Brothers, and we were due to do Tommy Cooper, the three-hander, and then it sort of came up that we couldn't do it. So I thought, well, I know what I'll do is I'll make it into a one-man show.
Yeah, why not?
So it's all his routines. It's the famous, all the misfiring gags, all the magic.
Yeah.
The famous, or everything that, whether it goes from the glass bottle to spoon jar, the magic cloak, everything's in there. And it's basically, it's his act live, and, as you would see his act. And so it's a long time on stage. It's about an hour and a half on stage. Wow. And of course you
never come off or anything?
No, I do it with no interval. I go straight through. So
wow.
It's but I'm kind of I've gotten used to it. I played John Lennon in another production called Lennon Through a Glass Onion for a production company over in Australia, and we toured we toured 8 countries, finishing in Los Angeles 3 years ago, and that was for Yoko Ono, who was involved with that.
Wow, yeah.
And that was a big honor to sort of do that, you know. And we finished in
Kind of might have her blessing, kind of thing.
yeah. But it was, you know, that was 31 songs and 20 monologues.
Whoa.
And that was me on stage for 2.25 hours. I mean, we did have a break in that, but that was pretty intense, playing 2,000-seater theatres, packed out everywhere we went. Big, you know, had a big press. All the sort of television stations across Canada, the US. Yeah. And we did that. And I think from that, you know, I kind of thought, well, you can do anything. Do you know what I mean? Because I was rehearsing 2 other plays as well at the time. And I was doing I think, at the Royal Court for Alan Bleasdale. So I was with Tommy Cooper all at the same time. So I kind of thought, well, I can do that. I can do anything, you know. So
yeah. Well, and to prove that, you are now.
Or should I say, if I can retain that much information?
Well, first of all, I mean, you know, bless you on that, bro, to stay on stage that whole time. But you also said that you're just now in post-production on a new film and everything. You want to say anything about that?
Yeah, it's a company. It's based out where the sort of Bollywood movie scene is. And,
yeah.
A friend of mine lives out there. She's quite well known out there, and she's sort of involved. She's involved with the film industry and has been for years. And she knows me as a sort of character actor. That's what I am. And
one who can memorize lines.
And she said, "There's a role come up in this film. I want to put you up for it." And
now, before you say the role, let's see. You're playing Tommy Cooper. You're playing John Lennon. And then this role that they figure, hey, you probably could do this one is
Adolf Hitler.
Well,
except I'm slightly taller than Hitler himself. You know,
a little bit, but you know, it's like Taika Waititi. You know, Jojo Rabbit.
They put all the SS soldiers on boxes, and I think they had me kneeling behind this desk at one point.
Yeah, it's not like Charlie Chaplin doing The Great Dictator or anything like that.
There were some similar, but it was a serious movie called Swastika Sankit, is the working title at the minute, and we're in post-production for that, and that's a really, really interesting story because it's about a thing that happened in history, and it's about this man called Bose, who's a character lived over in India during the sort of breakout of the Second World War, and he's very unhappy about the you know, obviously it was under colonial British rule then, and he wanted the British out, you know. It was as simple as that. So he went over to see Stalin, and there was meetings there, and in the end he went over to see Hitler. He said, well, look, we've got a common interest here. We're both at war, you know, if you like, with the British. I want them out of my country, and you want to, you know, blah, blah, blah. And you know, so it's about a thing that happened, a real documented meeting that happened. Now, this fella, this Bose, his name is in India, he's a cult hero over there still. And, you know, he really fought for that. And this meeting, anyway, took place with Hitler. And, of course, I'm playing Hitler. And basically Hitler was saying that, you know, I would rather... Now, this just sort of tells you how much hatred Hitler had in his bones, is that I would actually rather that the British were in charge of your country than you are.
Wow.
Because I hate you more than I even hate the British. You know, it was as basic, as simple as that, you know. So,
and so was this like a tense, like, confrontation scene?
Yeah, it's very, it's quite an intense film, you know. I think when you mention Bollywood, people sort of think, you know, we're changing light bulbs and doing the dance and all the singing and dancing and stuff, but it's not that at all. It's a very serious movie, you know.
So let me ask you, like, just going a little twist here, because I mean, obviously, you're playing John Lennon, you're playing Tommy Cooper and everything, so you're showing different shades of your acting ability. But you also have been doing a lot of theater, right? But then, so this is a film. So can you just tell us, from your perspective, what is the difference between theater and film?
Well, of course, there's the difference is it's a huge gulf. You could put the
Yeah.
Atlantic Ocean and the Pacific.
Obviously,
between-
but you know what I'm saying, bro.
Yeah.
Come on.
I'm
It's a
talking.
different muscle.
Yeah,
I mean, one you have
yeah,
to memorize all your lines, and the other one is like
No,
cut to this angle.
I get you completely. I think the thing is, what I'm trying to say is that I want to make it so the gulf is so big. I teach acting on Zoom, as everyone,
As we all do.
as we all do. Yes, So it's talking about that, and I think obviously we in theatre we work in width. Everything's exaggerated a little bit more. I think what's important though is that we are truthful.
Yeah.
As performers, it's. Regardless, I suppose with that gulf within, the common thing is to be truthful. And one of the big things for me is even when I'm teaching is who do we look to? And young students never seem to get the answer straight away. But once we get it, we latch onto it. And of course, it's the writer, and the story is always king. And I produce a lot of Shakespeare. I take over to Asia and around the country, whatever. We had a residency at the Epstein. I think they will all tell you as well is that I will always play true to what Shakespeare. Making the story shine as opposed to trying to put a clever angle on it. This, that, and the other. It's why be clever with a clever story. That's my take on it. But you can do it in a very clever way instead of. But just going back to what you were saying, so I've gone off track a little bit there. Is that the way that I explain television and film I think is a bit like a red carpet being rolled out.
Yeah.
And of course we're working in depth, and of course we can talk like this, but we're not going to get away with that. We've got to support that whisper or whatever, if you're on the stage. But a very good example was one of my first jobs out of drama school, which was for a series called Game On.
Oh, I remember Game On.
You remember Game On, yeah? Okay, so there was Samantha Janice and there was the two other. The one was an agoraphobic, and they all lived in this flat.
And they do.
And she used to date. She had a thing about northern men, so
right.
every week she'd have a different. And I was I played a rubbish comedian called Patrick, who told really bad jokes. And we'd filmed all this. They'd done all the filming on location.
Yeah.
And we went into a live studio audience environment.
Oh, okay.
And it was my second job out of college. And of course, when you see an audience, you naturally project to the audience.
Yeah.
And the director, John Stroud, he said to me, Dan, it's all right, it's fine. Everything that you're doing in performance is great. He said, but you've got to do your television acting in front of a theatre audience.
Yeah.
He said, forget there, but and it's the old sort of BBC sort of, those cameras where they'd come right up close and they sort of, they flip between them. He said, so just bear that in mind, and you've still got that boom above your head, so you just keep it, just remember that that was a lesson. That was a good lesson.
It is a funny lesson because there's a lot of people who do theater, and they don't understand that there's a difference between the two, which is why you just explained it well. It's just that, one you're playing to the masses and the other you're playing right there to the camera right there, and you don't need to do or you're I've always found when I did theater, and not as like your kind of theater, I did college theater, but I always found I didn't know what to do with my hands.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think I liked it when I got involved in film and videos and stuff like that, is that I didn't have to worry about that. You know what I mean? Because it's always about the close up.
Yeah.
and everything. So that's what I was saying. But no. I mean, it's just amazing, like, to be able to talk with somebody that has that kind of like gulf of experience and stuff.
Well, it's interesting you say that. I've got students that I work with every week. I've got a couple over in the US, and I've got a girl up in Leeds, an amazing dancer called Sienna, and we've just been doing a whole thing with the power of stillness.
Ooh.
And I was saying,
Is that like Be a Tree? Because I hated that in acting class. Be a tree. Yeah. How long? So please tell me what your version of the power of stillness.
No, it was. Young students tend to shuffle around a lot because they always feel if they're not speaking.
That's right.
And it'll always go back to it. It said it's the words are 25% of the performance. The performance is made up, is acting, is reacting, as you know. So I'm not just reacting to what you're saying, I'm reacting to your body language. I mean, I could have come into this room today and I would have reacted to it if you'd closed off or something. I'd have reacted, but it doesn't mean I'm going to say anything. So I'm reacting to mood, I'm reacting to things in lots of different ways, and I think that's important, and I try and put that across to the students. And we don't always have to be moving or speaking to really get a point across. And it's trust. It's trust.
It's being there, isn't it? It's like acting.
Play the situation. Trust.
But you got to be the character, don't you? You have to be. It's not about the lines. It's about just being there, isn't it?
Yeah, and I mean, look. The words are something that's given to us by the writer.
Yeah.
We're gonna play the scene. We're gonna play the scenario. Okay, I'm gonna give you a situation now. You've just walking down the road. You've taken your dog off the lead. Your dog's just ran across the road, and a car's just hit it.
Yeah.
Play it. Just do it.
Yeah.
Just play the scene.
Was that too big? But no.
Yeah,
it was a little bit. Okay, you don't want to tell me.
So I mean, look, as you know yourself, you're editing your films and everything else.
Yeah.
You'll find different ways of doing stuff, and you'll find what works. And that's what a rehearsal's for, and that's why we have directors and things like that, is to have that third eye and to guide the. I mean, I've been directing and I've been in productions at the same time, and I've stopped.
Well, I was going to ask you that because I mean we're coming down to the end about. So you obviously did all the acting. What about your directorial experience? Did you do any of that?
Yeah, I've done. Well, that was the thing with the production company. Coming back to this, back to that. So we did Tommy Cooper, and we put it into the Epstein Theatre when it was run by a lady called Rebecca Pilcellini, a friend of mine. And I went into the Epstein, and I said to her, I just sat there one day in the auditorium. It was beautiful, beautiful history with so much amazing history as it used to be. Obviously, the Crane Theatre, where they used to make the Crane pianos below. And they built that theatre to try out the pianos. It's just a great story. My granddad used to put on shows there, charity shows, many, many moons ago. And I was sat there and I thought, I really want to do something here. So I wanted to do Midsummer Night's Dream, which I'd done twice before. I'd done it in Central Park actually when I was a young actor in Shakespeare's Gardens, and no one had ever performed there. We did Midsummer Night's Dream. We did it as a promenade production, and I really wanted to do it again. But I thought, God, this is brilliant. I could really use this space because there's all these alcoves.
Yeah.
We've got that lovely balcony just behind.
Are you talking about Bethesda Park in around 72nd Street?
Yeah, I think
I am from New York, bro.
I think you're really close there. I think you're really close. Yeah,
I think I am.
Unique New York, unique, that one. Yeah, I love that city, and of course the big connection with John Lennon, of course.
Dakota.
Yeah. And I looked at it and I said, Rebecca, I don't want to do a sort of staged production where the audience are just sat. Looking at a proscenium arch, watching a story in that sort of traditional sense, because I'm a terrible audience member. I'm terrible, and it wasn't until I was about sort of 16. My dad was over in LA on business, and I went to Universal Studios to see some of the shows, and the floors would shake, and there'd be wind and rain and everything, and I thought, oh, I wonder if I could bring that into a theatre.
Yeah.
I wonder if I could make it really sort of. You're in the action with that immersive sort of, and I love it when it's exciting. So we had Puck up on the balcony there. We had all the fairies in the alcoves.
I could see it, bruv.
And we kept that whole globe thing where the mechanicals were coming through the back of the auditorium onto the stage and using the full depth of it. And everyone that was involved with it was predominantly from Liverpool or the Northwest region.
Yeah.
And because I'm a firm believer that we don't need to travel far and wide to get our actors,
no, we don't.
Our script editors, our designers, our costume makers, our lighting people, our sound, everything is on our doorstep.
Yeah.
And I was very lucky that I'd worked with a lot of people that had not done a great deal of stuff in their home city.
Yeah.
I mean, people that had been leads in Wicked and things, Jesus Christ Superstar, done stuff at the Royal Shakespeare Company, but no one had heard of them here. I was like, right, I can cast this. And I'd realised that if you can, one of the battles with putting a production on, as Martin Scorsese once said, famously says, is if half your battle is in the casting. And
That is true.
I cast, and it was a long process. And I've always been like that, and especially with Midsummer Night's Dream, which we brought back a year later, and we set up a rep company for 3 weeks in that theatre, and we did a Scouse Romeo and Juliet, which tied in with the same company.
Wow.
And I set it in Protestant Catholic Liverpool in 1885, which is actually documented historical thing that happened. And so Capulets and Montagues were
The Capulets and the Montagues
were Protestants and Catholics. There you go. And it worked. It worked fantastic. So that's what I'm up to with all of that, and the production company's still going. So it's just.
You know, man, I got to tell you, you completely immersed me in your environment. You know, I could talk to you for ages and everything, but you know, I mean, it's not only the countdown, but it's the school run. But either way you look at it,
how do you look at it?
Oh yeah. I can see it because you envisioned it for me. But you know, first of all, thank you for joining me here on the community podcast.
Pleasure.
I hope you enjoyed it and everything. I know our audience more than likely had enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe down below. And as you watch us on Big Condo Online, I want to thank my guest Daniel Taylor for joining me here in the podcast suite. I'm your host Chase Johnson Lynch, and you know what? For now, we out of here.